Basically, Security Plus course is designed by CompTIA, and the certification authority which authorizes us that you are a Security Plus certified is also a CompTIA certification body, basically. This course basically provides the basic knowledge of the IT functions. Like it will give you an overview idea, like what are the types of attacks, what are the types of hackers are there, what methodologies they can use in order to attack to a system. Those were the things that helps you in order to identify. Second point, this course will also give you the understanding of how you can detect it. Let's say one perspective is from the attackers, like it will give you the idea about the attackers, about their methodologies. Second point, it will give you like how you can detect it as a blue teamer or as an information security analyst, how you can detect those attacks, how you can prevent those attacks, and based on that, how you can do some modifications into your environment so that they won't occur in future. I mean, the same approach should not occur in future. Let's say attacker have used a particular approach, and that approach has a documentation, or that approach is into a public domain where you can get the information. Okay, this is one methodology that an attacker can use in order to bypass your firewalls or in order to bypass your security mechanism of your machine or your server. So how you can detect it, that is one, and how you can prevent it so that it won't reach to further machines or it won't bypass further machines. Or also you can understand like you can detect it in order to make yourself safe in future. Like in future, it should not be basically triggered. That also will get to learn in this course. So this exam basically is a 90 minutes exam, which the CompTIA body takes, and it will be having 90 questions in exam. All will be multiple choice questions, and the passing score is 750. Like the total is 900, and out of 900, the passing score is 750. This course is having 6 modules, and we call it as 6 chapters. So all those chapters basically, uh, let's start with the first chapter itself. So first chapter is basically threat attacks and vulnerabilities, which helps us in identifying the types of attacks that are possible onto a particular machine or a web server or a web application, and how the attacker or a hacker can use those methodologies in order to perform those attacks. Let's say there are some server types attacks, there are some client type attacks, there are some XSS attacks, SQL based injection attacks, there are some local file inclusions, there are some spoofing attacks, man in the middle attacks. So all those things we'll see into this chapter. Also, this chapter will include the types of viruses, like what are the types of viruses present that can harm our machines or that can get installed into our machine by different ways. So the names of the viruses or the categorization of the viruses are basically getting done by their functionalities. So let's say there is a worm. So the worm generally self-replicates itself. That is one category. Let's say there are other viruses like backdoors is one, keyloggers is one, adwares are one, rootkits are other. So all those things we'll see into this first chapter itself. Then the second chapter is related to the technologies and the tools. So in the second chapters, we are going to see like what tools or technologies we can use in order to prevent those attacks that we have seen in chapter number 1. So let's say firewall is one technology basically. So using by making use of the firewalls, we could be able to detect and we could be able to prevent the attacks or a malicious traffic that is traveling into our network. That could be one. There are other tools as well. One is SIEM tools, one is antivirus tools or HIPS tools basically. So those tools will help us in order to basically detect and prevent the attacks that is currently going on into our network. Or basically let's say some file has been downloaded into our machine, so that file is malicious. So if we have antivirus installed and the signatures are updated into that particular antivirus, so the antivirus will be able to detect it and block it. If let's say we have the antivirus but the signatures are not updated, so in those scenarios there are chances that the antivirus is not able to detect that particular file as a malicious one. And if we are not having antivirus at all, then there are 100% chances to get our systems infected. So all those scenarios we'll see into the chapter number 2. Then in the chapter number 3 basically deals with the architecture and design. So in this chapter we are going to see how we can harden or how we can strengthen our operating system or our parameter security. Like let's say I'm using one web server, or I'm an admin of that web server, and that web server is having the critical data of the employees. So how we can make sure that my web server is safe and secure? Like it is having all the tools installed, it is having firewall as well, it is having all the updated signatures, all those things. How we can put the hardening point into our web server so that whenever someone tries to steal or someone tries to get into our web server in order to steal the files, he won't be able to do that. So all those architecture designs we'll see in chapter number 3. Then there is a chapter number 4, which is identity and access management. So now on a web server, for example, there would be a different users, because let's say you are one user, I am one user, some other person is the third user, and they will be having different roles based on their functionalities, because a single web server is getting used by multiple employees, and those multiple employees are belong to different teams, and their projects are hosted on different directories and other things, and they will be having different basically permissions in order to access those files. So all those things we'll see in chapter number 4, like how we can define the permissions, how we can do the authentication of those employees onto our web server. Like, are we gonna use AAA standards, or are we gonna use two multi-factor authentication systems or other things in order to make the system strengthen, so that the hacker will not be able to take advantage of it. So that we're gonna deal with chapter number 4. Then there will be chapter number 5, which deals with the risk management. So in this chapter, basically, we are gonna associate the risk that is associated with our web server or with our web application or with our endpoint client. What if someone steals the data, or what if some file or some hacker is able to enter into our machine? Then how much risk is associated in terms of the cost, in terms of the data loss and other things? So that we are going to access in chapter number 5. Let's say I have planning to hosting a web server, and that web server is having the personal information of the employees. And so firstly, what we will gonna do before hosting a web server, we are gonna evaluate the risk. Like what if someone gets into it, into our web server, someone hacks into our web server, and he's able to take the personal information, let's say. So how much the risk is associated, and based on that we try to minimize the risk by, we can, what we can follow, we can basically doing the OS hardening, we can do the web application hardening, we can use firewalls, we can use other tools, so that it makes difficult, if it makes attackers job difficult in order to enter into the machine. That is one. Second, if the attacker is able to get access to that particular machine, then what we are going to try to do is we're going to try to store the data into some other form, so that hacker will be able to see the data, but it will not be, he will not be able to decrypt it, or he will not be able to decode that data, like what it is. It's a name, it's a mobile number, it's a credit card number or something. So all those things, based on those things, we are gonna manage the risk, and based on that we are gonna improve the risk factors, so that like the risk should be less if someone gets into the machine. And the last chapter is the cryptography, basically, and public key interface, PK. So basically, this cryptography chapters tells us what are the different algorithms or encryption algorithms that we can use in order to store our data. Let's say there is one symmetric algorithm is one, asymmetric algorithm is another one, hashing is one approach, keys, cryptographic keys are other approaches. So all those approaches we are going to see in this chapter in order to identify like how those algorithms work in order to encrypt the data, how the data at the backend is getting encrypted, and how it can be decrypted by making use of keys or by making use of combination of different keys. So this we're gonna deal with chapter number 6. So this is course overview chapter wise. So any doubt till now? Let's start with the chapter number one. So basically, the chapter number one deals with the threats, actors, and the vulnerabilities. So firstly, we are gonna cover what are the types of malwares or what are the types of viruses available. So first thing is what is malware. So malware basically is a software, is a piece of software we can say it, which had the intention to do malicious activities. Now, how we are going to categorize that this activity is a malicious or this activity is not a malicious? Because let's say you have created one script, that script is responsible for data gathering, for example, and you have created it for one of your project. So you will say like it is a useful script for you because you have automated your task and it is helping you in order to get the data, like it is saving your time. But if let's say that script is used by some other person to whom you do not want to share the data, but he had that script and he's successfully able to run that script into your machine and he's able to see the data, then we can say that that particular script is malicious script in this context because that third person is able to see the data which it should not, what he should not be able to. So malware is just a piece of code, is a software which has been written in order to basically steal the information or gather the information. Now there can be multiple ways through which the malware can be written. One type of malware, let's say, is keystrokes. So what keystrokes will do, basically whenever you press any keys onto your keyboard, if the malware is installed into your machine, so it will make note of it. It's like simple. Let's say here, mm, I have typed hello. So every like by typing the hello, I have pressed H. So this H will be stored into the malicious files or a malware's memory. Then I typed hello. So the exact string hello will be stored into the malicious files database, and the hacker or the attacker is able to see what I have typed. So this is simple, but let's say you are entering your password onto some particular website. Let's say you have opened gmail.com account, and so he is able to see like because you have typed www.gmail.com into your web browser, so he'll get an idea, okay, Gmail has been opened, and then onto the user field, let's say you have typed abcdef at gmail.com, something like that. So by this thing, he will be able to know like, okay, this is the user ID, and thereafter you have typed some your password, let's say, for example, this one. So the attacker is easily able to guess, okay, this is the username of your Gmail ID and this is the password of your Gmail account using the keystroke, because every key you are pressing, the attacker is getting the information related to it. So this is one type of malware that is known as keystrokes or a keylogger. Then there are other types of malware which we'll see it. One is viruses, basically known as worms also. Another is crypto malwares, then Trojan horse, then rootkits. So firstly, we'll start with the viruses. So viruses are those basically that can reproduce itself. Like it does not want you to click anything or something. What it will do, once you run an application, so it will run with that particular application. Let's say attacker has injected a malware with chrome.exe or chrome dot basically Chrome application. He has injected some malware files or some code, and whenever you open the Chrome, so at the background the malware or the virus will automatically run. So those sort of categories are known as viruses. So now, for example, you have gone to the Google and you have typed download Chrome browser, something like that. So you will see different web links, right? One is from the authorized website, that is Google, which is the authorized one in order to provide basically the downloading file or the updates to the Chrome. Then if you come down, you start getting seen chrome.softonic.com is one. Then if you come down, then Chrome driver. So there will be different things, right? But let's say you open this one, for example. So it is also having a link to download the Chrome browser. But the best way to download the Chrome browser is always use the authorized websites. For example, you want to download the Google Chrome. So Google Chrome is provided by Google. So you should always download the Chrome browser from the Google website itself. So this is the one, right? And from here you can download it. What if you download it from other third parties? So from other third parties, what will happen? They are I would say like some third parties also will provide you the proper versions. But what if some attacker has compromised a website, or he has launched his malicious website and he has uploaded a Chrome file? But what he did, he attached one malware file, he attached one virus with that Chrome. So if you downloaded the Chrome browser from that particular website and you have installed it into your machine, so you will not see any major difference. Like it will be same. The browser will be same. You will be able to access the content in the same manner. But at the background, the virus will be running. Now that virus will be affecting your system, or it may be copying some data and sending it to the attacker's machine, or it will be basically trying to gather the information and passing it to the attacker's machine, whichever it has mentioned into their code. So this is how virus can inject it into your machine. That is one approach basically. Another approach also, like how viruses can come from the emails. Let's say you have received an email, and into that email, for example, you have received a phishing email, and that phishing email basically says some PDF or something, or some URL is there, and you have opened that particular PDF, and you won't notice anything, but at the background, virus might have installed it onto your machine. So that is the another way the hackers or attackers can use it. Also, let's say uh, nowadays what will happen is, let's say you have used public Wi-Fi or something, and you have accessed some of the websites. Let's say you are looking for a Netflix account, or you are looking for Amazon Prime account, and you have accessed those websites from a public Wi-Fi. Now that public Wi-Fi is already been compromised by some attacker, or some attacker is already being doing the sniffing or something onto the public Wi-Fi. Like he's able to see which user is accessing which request, like which user is searching which request. Let's say you're searching Netflix accounts, something like that. So he'll able to see like you are in a looking for a Netflix account. So what he will try to do is he will try to start sending mails to you related to a Netflix account. Uh, let's say if you want a Netflix account, click here, something like that. He will try to send, or he will try to send some doc file by mentioning, okay, this doc file is having the Netflix user accounts and the password. So all this kind of information, this is a planned attack basically. So all this sort of information, he will try to send it to your mail. Now at that point of time, your mind is working, okay, you want a Netflix account to watch some series, or you want Amazon Prime account to do some shopping or something. So in that point of time, your mind is working, okay, anyhow, like at any point I have to get this account. So without noticing much, you will open that link, or you can open that particular document or something, and in actual the document is malicious. So you have to be aware of these sort of attacks as well. So this is one. Then one another one, the worms. So worms basically are a type of malware that self-replicates. So virus reproduces itself, and but worms self-replicated itself. So in terms of self-replication, it will create a number of copies. Let's say there is a one copy of worm present into your machine, and you have deleted that one copy, but it won't be deleted from your machine, because it has already created thousands of the copies into different machines, and you will not know like where that copy is there. Let's say some copy will be in C/Windows, some copy will be in D drive, some copies will be backup folders or some other things. So just like this, thousand copies will be there. So so it is very hard to basically delete or to remove the worm from your machine. It is a difficult job. That is one point. Some antiviruses can do it. Some antivirus can detect the thousand copies or hundreds of copies of the worms that has been stored into the machine, and they are capable of doing that, deleting that particular worm and removing that particular worm. But for a normal user, it is very difficult. For a normal user, in order to remove or delete the copy of the forms, because they are multiple, they are 100, they are 1000, and you will not get to know, like once you delete one it will create another one. So this is the property of a worm. Now how those basically viruses or a files can come to your machine, or can exploited your machines basically. So one thing is how the malware file is getting delivered to your machine, because to uh, to exploit your machine, the file should be there into your machine, or the code should be there into your machine, and it should be installed. So how the code can reach to your machine? One is through the internet, like you downloaded some file and the virus has been attached from that file and it has been come up to your machine. That is one. Another approach is by using a drive files, USB drive or a hard drive file. You attach some USB drive to your machine, and you attach some hard drive to your machine in order to copy some data. So through that approach also it can come. Another approach is like you are using mails and other things. So from the mails you get some PDF file, some doc files, or some URL or something that you have opened it, and from those particular websites some file has been downloaded to your machine, to your system. So these are basically famous ways through which malicious files can get into your system. But what if it get into your system? It needs to be installed in order to do its functionality, because before installation the malware can't do much. So now how it can be installed? So in the process of installation, one is basically, if you click on something, if you click on that particular PDF, if you click on that particular software into which the malware file is attached, so that is one sort of a way. Another sort of a way is, let's say that malware is written in such a way that whenever you open a genuine file or a Chrome file or something, so it will look for, like when we open a Chrome, so it will look for certain DLLs, right? In order to open into a environment. In case of Windows machine, so let's say it's making use of user32.dll or kernel32.dll in order to get itself open into the environment. So the malware basically can reference those DLLs to its malicious file. So whenever you are opening the genuine Chrome, so it might have deleted the original kernel32.dll and it has injected its malicious kernel32.dll, or it has injected its malicious user32.dll. So at that same time, the malicious one will be installed and malicious one will be executed. So this is how the malware can be installed into a particular machine. Next type is a ransomware or a crypto malware. So a ransomware, basically what it will do is, let's say you have a different files, you have one folder and you are having all the data into that folder, and that folder you have kept the name as a personal documents or something, and it has multiple layers. It has your photographs, it has your personal data, it has your identification numbers or mobile numbers or credit card bills or ATM pins or something like that. So let's say some malware has been installed and that malware is a ransomware category. So that malware, what it will do is it will basically looking for that particular folders which are having the critical information, which are having the sensitive data, by searching for the names, because we people have a tendency to name the things based on their sensitiveness. Let's say for personal information, we'll create a folder, it is related to personal. For bank information, we'll create a folder, okay, bank details or something like that. So basically, this is very basic approach the attacker will use in order to search for these strings into your machine. Whenever they find it, or whenever they find the folder or a document name with these strings, what they will try to do, they will try to copy all those files into one particular file, and they will encrypt that particular file into which they have copied. Now, after copying it, they will delete the original files. So here you will notice the original files would have been deleted and the data they have already copied into some files, and those files are now encrypted now. So in order to open those files, you need to decrypt those files. And to decrypt those files, you need a key. It's like a lock. Malware has copied those files into a particular room, and that room is locked now. In order to open that room, you need a key of that particular lock. And now the key is only with the attacker. And now the attacker will basically ask you for the money that you pay me these many dollars or these many money, so and then only I will give you the key. So this is how ransomware works basically. They do the encryption of those files and they will ask for the ransom money in order to provide the details to you. Now, the example that I have taken, it's related to only your details, right? Particular your details, and you are, like, your identification numbers, your mobile data, your credit card numbers and other things. But what if this ransomware attacks have been performed into a particular organization, or which is managing the data of thousands of the employees, and there it has performed, then it will be a massive attack basically, and they will charge a huge amount of money in order to do the decryption key of those files. So this is ransomware. Then there are trojans or rats. So trojans basically is a kind of a malware, or it's kind of a virus only basically. So how they got installed is, they pretend to be something else. Like, they pretend to be a genuine file, but in actually they are not a genuine file. The example which I have taken for the Chrome, right? The Chrome, it will look like a Chrome browser itself. Like, the basically this the symbol or a thumbnail of the Chrome will be same. Once you open it, it will work exactly the same how it used to be. Everything will be same. Like, it will look like same. But in actual, malware is attached to that particular file and it will get installed once you opened it. So those categories are also known as Trojan categories, basically. So they look like a same, but in actual they are not same. So how you can identify those things? Like, how you can identify whether I have downloaded the basically the non-malicious Chrome, or the safe Chrome I have downloaded. So one approach I have told you, like, you can go onto their websites and you can download from there. That is one approach. You can do for any application with Chrome, Firefox, Safari, or any other tool which you're going to use. That is one. Another approach in order to identify is basically this Chrome, right? They will provide the hash value. So how you can check is, you can look for the hash value, Chrome browser hash. So there, this one. This chrome.google.com will tell you the hashes basically. So like, what hashes of the recent updation Chrome is there. So there will be a single hash which is a unique value, and you can match that value with the version that you have downloaded it. Let's say the hash value is something like, randomly I can write. Let's say it's a multiple times a. So, and you have downloaded some Chrome file from some other websites, let's say some Softonic website or something. You have downloaded your Chrome, and from there you are getting the hashes as VVCC, something like that you are getting. So you can compare both the hashes. If they are not same or they are not identical, then you can say that this version is having something injected, or this version is having different, or is it different from the actual one which Chrome is providing me. So you can verify those cases as well. Or also, like, if you are not getting the hash on the Chrome website, so what you can do is you can download the Chrome browser from their website and you can make use of a website that is VirusTotal. So here, this VirusTotal basically is a tool which helps you in order to identify whether the file is a malicious or not. Let's say I have choose some file, for example, downloads itself. I can choose. Let's say I have choose this one. So it is saying this file is undetected. That means the VirusTotal is not having the information about this file, and it's not able to detect whether it is malicious or not. So this is as of today. When you check it tomorrow, so now this file has been entered into VirusTotal's database, right? So they will start doing the search for this particular file, and they will try to identify whether this is malicious or not. So after 24 hours, when you check it, they will give you the information whether it is malicious or not. So that is one thing. And in the case of hashes, like, you want to see or compare the hashes, right? So you can go into the details and you can see what are the hashes attached to this particular file. So the MD5 hash is this one. So in the case of Chrome, it will show you some value, right? So you download one Chrome from a original website and you download one Chrome from a third party website and try to compare the hashes of those both the applications. And if you are seeing both are same, then you can say that okay, both are the genuine and the original one. If you are seeing a different, then you can say that the second one which you have downloaded from the third party may be malicious. So this is how you can identify. That is one approach. Or also, if you upload that particular file, that .exe file or something onto this website virustotal.com, it will show you like how many times it has been identified as a malicious one. If the score is very uh, I would say high, it's like 15 or more than 10 is good enough. I mean, in order to identify, detect it whether that is malicious or not. Then there will be rootkits. So basically, how rootkits will work is like the malware that tries or that hide itself into the rootkits of the machine. Those categories are known as rootkits. Like if the malware has a capability in order to hide itself into the rootkits of the machine, then we can categorize those malwares as a rootkit. So rootkit are where located basically rootkits are located at the kernel level. So we know that, right? When we click on a power on button of our machine or of our Windows machine or Unix machine, any machine, so then the kernel will start loading, right? And onto that kernel, basically, if a malware hides itself at the kernel level, so that time the malware run will start running itself from the kernels. Like every time or whenever we switch on the system, the malware will be running. So that sort of malwares are known as rootkits. In the other cases, which I have explained you, like the Trojan horses and other things, they are associated with the applications. Let's say some malware is associated with the Chrome exe, for example. So in those scenarios, if Chrome is running, then those malwares are running. If you have closed the Chrome, like they are not running. Let's say some example of keylogger. So keylogger is attached into your machine and basically it is able to detect the keys strokes, like whatever keys you are pressing. So now when keyboard comes into the picture, when you turn on your machine or basically so after the kernel, when the BIOS loader and the other things will work, so at that point of time the keyloggers will hide itself into their memories. So we can say that keylogger will work on every application because it's related to the keyboard. But Trojans or rats or other things, they are application specific. They can be Chrome, Safari or other things. So they will only run when you open those particular applications. So this is about the rootkits, like they hide itself into the roots or I would say the kernel directories of the machine, and whenever you clicked or whenever you press the power on button, the our kernel will load and the kernel will keeps running until you switch off the computer. So that means the malware will be keep on running until we turn off the computer, and all the activity that will do after turning on and before turning off, all those can be recorded by the malware. So those are rootkits. Then there will be keyloggers. So keyloggers, I explained, like basically they are taking the screen, I would say keystrokes. Whichever keys you are pressing, they are taking the information, they are copying that values, and they are trying to identify which keys you have which keys you have pressed, basically. So now the keyloggers can be a software also, keylogger can be a hardware also. So software is like it can be installed onto your machine, right? That is will be a software. Now the hardware is like basically, let's say you are having a PC. You're not using a laptop, you are having a PC, and into that PC you have noted there are ports, right? USB ports will be there in the front also and at the back also. So let's say the PC that is being kept is used by multiple people. For example, there's one PC and is getting used by multiple people. It has been written into a basically cyber cafe or something, internet cafes, and there the public can use it. So what attacker can do? Attacker can inject some hardware into the USB port of that particular PC. So you will not get to know because you will go into the internet cafe just to internet or some just to surfing some website or downloading some content. So at that point of time you will not get to know that this PC or the system is already having a keylogger installed into it, or there's a keylogger attached to this particular machine. You will type, like you will enter your Gmail credentials, you will log in there, you will download your PDF report or something from your email ID or something. So at that point of time, the keylogger will take all the information, like whichever keys you have pressed, whatever usernames you have entered, and other things, and it will make use of it. Like it next time, it will log in onto your Gmail account or onto your other accounts, and it will try to collect all the information which he wants to or something. That is how keylogger is work. So be aware, by accessing anything or by logging into the public place or by logging into the machine that is used by public or that is used by all. So that is one thing. Then next is the adware and the spyware. So how adware will work? Basically, adware is like our computer is basically full of advertisements, right? We receive a lot of advertisement. Let's say we open multiple website, and onto that website we will be having, let's say I have opened something, download songs. So onto some website, you have noticed there will be ads coming, right? So here, let's say there will be advertisement. It is not load. Yeah. So let's say this one, right? So these sort of things will be coming. When you clicked on it, it will redirect to some other links, right? So let's say I clicked on it and it is redirecting me to some other link, and it will start opening some other links, right? Which I have no intention, like what it is. Like it shows it's related to Adobe. You can pay this much and you can download these kind of apps. So but in other cases, what malware will do, they launch their malicious code into those advertisements basically. So when you click on those advertisements, okay, they will show, okay, hey, get free Netflix account or get free 1,000 USD dollars or something like that. They will pop up an advertisement in front of you. Get download free antivirus softwares or something like that. And you clicked on it, and it will redirect to some other links. And that links is actually capable of downloading a malicious file into your machine. So this is how malware can also be installed into your, or can also be downloaded into your machine. So be aware of these advertisements. Do not click those advertisements which are not related to you or which seems basically suspicious. So how you can categorize is, for example, one is this one, right? Someone is giving something in free. So that is a, let's say, a free lottery, won this much $1,000 or something like that. So like it 99% is related to false, or 99% is related to suspicious one only. So do not click on those sort of advertisements at all. So this is how you can be safe from those adwares also. Another is spyware. So spyware basically is a malware that spies on you. Like it spies on you on every activity. We have seen in the movies, right? There would be a spy, or in the Tom Cruise movies also, like he tried to spy like on the task or the consignments that are going on. So similarly, in the case of technologies, spyware are those. Like they try to spy or keep an eye on you in order to track your functionalities, or in order to track your activities. Like for example, browser monitoring it can be one. So spyware, what they will do, they will not do something, they will just keep on seeing like what you are using. Let's say in a day you use YouTube, in a day you use Gmail account, you log out your Gmail account, then you again log in your Gmail account, for example, or you do some content writing work, or you do some this work, or you use banking also. So all those things, he will like the spyware will keep an eye on it, and it will make a note all the things. It will keep make a note of it, and it will send to the attacker. So thereafter the attacker will decide like how he can target you, like on which application he can target you. Let's say you are using an old Chrome browser, and that Chrome browser is having some sort of a vulnerabilities. So what you did, like one day you were just accessing and you opened this, and here you went to settings, and here you by mistake you have clicked on about Chrome. So here the spyware will notice, okay, you are using Chrome browser version 90 dot something like that, and let's say this version is old one, it is not updated one, and it is having some kind of a vulnerability. So what the attacker will think, so now attacker will try to start targeting this Chrome browser because he know this is vulnerable and you are using it. So he will try to basically target this browser in order to get access to your machine or in order to gather some information related to it to perform its attack. So that's what spyware will do. Spyware will basically collect all the information and send it to the attacker. Then the attacker will decide on which application or on which point he need to target it. Any doubt till now in this 4 5 types of malwares? So the next topic is bots and the botnets. So basically, bots, how it works is like bots are a sort of a machines, or they are a sort of we can say a kind of a software, a piece of software, or we can also categorize them a piece of machines, another thing. So how bot will work now, in order to operate a particular machine, we need one human, right, in order to do the task. That is one. But what if we created one script and that script is capable of dealing with tens or hundreds of the machine? Like we do not need human beings in order to operate those machines. We have created one script and that script will be functioning on those hundreds of the machine and doing their tasks. So in that cases, if attacker is making use of particular script and he's able to control hundreds of devices and those hundreds of devices, then he will make use of hundreds of devices in order to perform some other attacks onto a one machine or onto a one server. So then we can say that those hundreds of machine worked as a bot for him, basically. For example, let's say there is one machine and attacker has run some script in order to control one another machine. Now that another machine does not need involvement of the human, and it has been controlled by the script, and that machine is able, like the attacker is able to use that particular machine in order to perform an attack. So we can say that that machine is has worked as a bot in this process in order to perform a particular attack. In the case of botnets, if there are machines more than one, let's say two, three, four, or something, hundreds, thousands, so we can say that there's a group of bots is known as botnets. So basically, if the machine is more than one, we can say that it's a botnet. So what sort of attacks they can perform? Basically, so one common attack is like DDoS attack. So how DDoS attacks will work? Basically, let's say we are running an application. For example, there is one application. We take an example of Chrome browser only. So this google.com slash this one is this will be one application, right? At the back end, they will be running and they will be serving this page to us. So this will be a web application. What if tens of thousands of the users access this page at the same time? So this web application will be having a limitation, right? There's many number of requests it can handle into per second or something like that. Let's say it has a capability of handling 100 requests per second. So what if I made a script in such a way that I will send 200 requests at the particular same time onto this web application. So the web application will not be able to serve those 200 requests, right? It will be overflow. So it will crash. So, and once it will crash, so it won't be able to provide any service. So this is known as DDoS, distributed denial of service. That means the web application is unable to provide the service to its customers. So this attack can be performed by making use of botnets type of malwares. Then the next is logic bombs. So logic bombs basically those are the malwares which wait for a specific time period or a date, and at the same time they will start execute. It's like a time bomb, we can say that. So once a logic bomb type of a malware and is being downloaded into your machine, so it will wait for a particular time. Let's say it has a set timer or it has a scheduled task at 8 o'clock on particular date. Let's say on a 16th of May, 8 o'clock. It has a timer. So at that particular time, whenever that particular time happens onto the system, it will execute it. So if that is the scenario, then we can call those malwares as a logic bombs. Then next will be the phishing attacks. So in the case of phishing, basically, it is known as these are known as social engineering attacks as well. So how phishing will work? Let's say you receive an email and that email is saying, "Hey, click here and won $10,000." So you clicked on there, it redirected you to some other link, and onto that particular link, it has downloaded some sort of a malware into your machine. So that is one sort of a phishing email that can be. Or let's say you got an mail from a Netflix account, hey, get the Netflix account free. But the spelling of the Netflix, let's say the actual spelling is this, right? But you got the mail from this one. So this is the attacker's domain which he has created, and it is the malicious one. It will look genuinely like the same, like the mails, all the other things will look same. That okay, the GUIs and other things will exactly look same, but in actual there's a slightly different, like the spelling. It will be double X or it will be double T or something like that. It can be, and you will notice that okay, oh, I got the mail, oh, I'm getting a free Netflix account. So you clicked on it, and in actual basically it will redirect you to the malicious page and downloaded some sort of a script or something. So you need to be aware of these sort of things as well. Let's say you got some mail, for example abc at some domain like gmail.com. So this is malicious, right? Because Gmail doesn't have two L's. So this is how you can categorize this by specifically looking for the text and their spelling checks, or they might have used hyphen also, Gmail hyphen L or something like that. So by looking at their domain names and other things, you can easily specify whether this comes from the genuine source file or not. If it is not coming from a genuine source file, then we can categorize that, okay, this is the phishing email. So this is in terms of mail, but let's say you are accessing some websites. So for example, the Amazon.com. This is Amazon.com, right? So if you are getting a name like Amazon.com, uh, some script or something is redirected to this particular URL, or let's say you're being redirected to this particular URL. So you can notice, right? Amazon spelling is not this. So this is something wrong. Some malware or something is running onto my machine, or this is a phishing email that is redirecting me, or that is trying to redirecting me to particular this website. So this helps you in identifying whether there's a phishing email or there's a phishing website going on. So this is about phishing. Then the next one is tailgating and impersonation. So tailgating is like basically, uh, for example, when you are entering into a particular building or when you are entering into a particular office, so you will be having your ID card, right? You will be having your badge through which you are gonna get the access. So you punch your card onto the machine, and then the gates will open, and then you will basically cross the doors. So in the same way, let's say someone is behind you, and the moment you touched your card, the gates will open, you cross the doors, and at the same time the doors was open for a particular, like it will be open for 1 second, and in the same time someone else also get the access. Like the person who was behind you doesn't have any card or any doesn't have anything. What did was basically he take advantage of the gates which were opened, and he passes through the gates with you, but you didn't know, like the guy who is behind me has taken this advantage. So this is basically known as tailgating. So when this sort of a thing is done, we can categorize this sort of attack as a tailgating. Another one is the impersonation. So impersonation is basically a person which try to be pretend to be something which he is not. For example, let's say now in the tailgating way, there will be two persons, right? One, you are the genuine one, and with your card, he get the access, right? Because on your card, only one person was authorized, but the gates were open for 1 more second, and he also passed through that card. So that is one. Another is like impersonation. In the impersonation is like he got your card. For example, he found your card at some cafe, or you lost your card, somewhere and he found it out, then he make use of that particular card in order to enter into your building. Like he displayed that card, the gate will open and there is no physical security guard in order to verify whether okay this is the right person or something. This person belongs to this company or this person belongs to this society or authority. So, but that person get the access of the database servers or any other servers is able to see. So that sort of attack is known as impersonation attacks. Then next are the dumpster diving attacks. So in dumpster diving attacks, let's say you have downloaded or you have created one doc file, and into the doc file uh, you have written all those informations and other things, like it will be having your signatures, it will be having your personal data, or it will be having something information related to the project. But what you identify, okay, you have wrongly filled the information. Let's say one field is incorrect, or you need to erase that field, or you need to do the cutting of that particular field, but you can't do the cutting because it won't look that much good. So what you decided to throw that paper into the garbage and take the new printout, for example. Now what you did, you threw out that paper into the garbage or garbage box or a dust box, and you have taken the printout of the new paper. So now that garbage box will be collected by some attacker or some hacker. Let's say you used the public garbage box, for example. You have sent your identification numbers, or you have the copy of the credit card numbers or other things, and you have throw it into the common garbage or something. And there, the attacker will get a chance to see the data because you have not tiered the pages, you have not done anything. Like you simply just put the page into the garbage or a dustbin. So in that case, the attacker can also, or any third person can also read the data, right? Can also make a use of that particular data. So that attack is known as dumpster diving. Like you have basically dumped the contents of uh, dump the data, and the attacker is basically doing the diving process from the dumps, so that he will be able to see some data, like he will be able to get some information. That is dumpster diving. So be aware of these. Like do not throw any paper without destroying the information written on it. Be it anything, like you can do it by basically tearing the paper, or you can do it by cutting, like by removing on the digits or the number that is written onto that particular paper. So be try to use this approach. Then the next is shoulder surfing. So in the shoulder surfing, basically, it's a kind of attack where I will show you the picture of shoulder surfing itself. So that will be better. So it's like when you are sitting and you are sitting in such a way that someone else is able to see what you are surfing onto the internet. So that is known as shoulder surfing. So this case, let's say you are going into a bus or in a train, and this is you, and you are accessing some data onto your tablet, and the person who is sitting with you is able to, like you can see his eyes, right? He's clearly able to see which website you are opening, which data you are entering, what password you are entering or something. So these sort of attacks are known as shoulder surfing attacks. In this example, a lady is trying to enter its ATM pin in order to withdraw some money, but some other guy who was in the queue, he is taller than this lady, and he just standing behind that lady and able to see what the pin that this lady is entering into the ATM machine. So this is also known as shoulder surfing attacks. This is one. Then other one is the hoaxes. So hoaxes basically are the threat that doesn't actually exist. Like there would be only the hoax. For example, like this, you can see it, right? You'll see a warning in the red, system might have detected virus on your computer. This is the virus. So this, and in the later, they what they will do for removing the virus, click here. For downloading the antivirus, click here. For detecting these kind of malware, click here. So in actual, these holding will be false, right? They in actually the malware is not present onto your machine, but this holding will come. But at the end, it will show you to download the download the removing tool or to download the antivirus tool, click here, and you clicked here and it will redirect to you some malicious website, and then it will actually download the actual malware. Once you clicked here, then it will start downloading the actual malware into your machine, and now it will not remove it, it will basically include the malware into your machine. So those sort of attacks are known as hoaxes attacks. So be aware of these attacks as well. So how you can identify is basically once it is showing click here, right? So you when you keep the mouse there, so it will start showing you the URL, like which URL it is trying to take you. When you keep the mouse for 2 seconds on click here itself, that is a hyperlink basically. So it will show you the URL. Then what you can do, you can copy that particular link address and you can make use of this virus total. So in virus total, you can enter anything. Like if you want to upload a file, click here, upload a file from your machine. If you want to check a particular URL, whether this URL is malicious or not, enter the URL here, like something like that. For example, I'm just giving a random guess, malicious.com. Let's say something is there or not. So militia.com is clean. Like there would be some website that is militia.com. It would be clean. Let's take an example of. So what you can try is basically look for the malicious domain. You can identify like URL from like there will be website which will give you the link of the malicious domain, and you can try to search those website into this virus total application, and you will see like how it is categorizing those files as a clean, or how much it is categorizing those files as suspicious. For more details, what you can do, you can go into the details and you can identify like which IP address that particular URL is serving, and what are the hashes that it is using, body hashes and other things, how old the website is, all those things you can see. Also, what you can see is in the community page, there will be comments like people would have commented, okay, this is a bad website or this is a malicious website. So you can also read some sort of comments which will give you the indication like, okay, this is the malicious one or this is the normal one. Then next is the watering hole attacks. So watering hole attacks basically, let's say your network is secure. I mean, you have the particular network in which 10 devices are connected, and that network is like secure, it's 100% secure. I mean, no one can enter into that particular network, or also the devices that you have kept are under certain locks. I mean, you have kept the devices into a particular room, that particular room is locked, and then there is one another gate which is also locked, so no one can physically reach to those devices. Also, if someone reaches to those devices, they don't have any port. I mean, you have blocked all the ports, like no one can include hard drives, no one can include USB types and other things. So in those cases, how the attacker can perform the attack, because it can't enter into the network and he can't enter in physically onto your devices. So how the attacker can basically perform an attack onto your device is like basically it will try to gather the information, like what your company is doing, which website your employees are using more, and basically what files are they are going to deal with more, like are they going to deal with PDF files, or they are going to use Adobe PDF readers or other things, what are their mail addresses and other things, and from there he will try to send the files to you, like, and those sort of attacks are known as watering hole attacks. Like it will try to create an hole into the network basically by sending out the files, or by sending out the mails, malicious mails, so by making you accessible their websites onto the internet, and then through which he want to install those malicious files basically. So those are known as watering hole attacks. For example, now first steps is like how he's gonna collect this information, right? Like which website you are accessing, what are your email addresses, because network he's not having access, physically he's not having access, but what he's having access is he's having access to the people. Like let's say you are an employee of that particular company, so he will start tracking your activities. He will try to track your activities, where do you go, what you do in your day-to-day time. Okay, you went to this coffee shop, okay, you went to this coffee shop and you access your phones, right? So at that point of time, he will make a guess, or he will be making a surety that okay, when you are going to this coffee shop and this coffee shop is providing a free Wi-Fi, then there are chances that you are making use of those Wi-Fis. Or let's say you are going into a railway station or an airport or something, and those authorities are providing a free access to the internet or free Wi-Fi, and you are connecting to those Wi-Fi networks. So what attacker will try to do? Attacker will try to basically I would say take the advantage of that free Wi-Fi access. He will try to control that Wi-Fi first, through which you are connecting, you are connecting, and he will try to see the details, whatever websites or whatever data you are accessing. For example, so let's say this website, okay. So here I have entered usernames and the passwords, but the username and the password was incorrect, and I tried to see the data onto this, like whatever websites basically my machine is trying to access or something. So in the tool, using this tool Wireshark, basically what we can do is we can see the network traffic, like where the data is going, which web applications the data is going, and other things, and through which what exactly we can make use of it. We can see which website we have accessed. For example, we have accessed this, right, altiromutual.com. So the information would come here, like which web applications you are using, which website you are using. For example, you are using Google and it is using the HTTP protocol. So all those sort of information will start coming here once you remove this. And there would be logs here. It will show you which protocols your computer or device has gone, and whatever request it has sent it to other websites or other web application. So all of sort of data it will come. So in the same way, in the same manner, attacker will take over the Wi-Fi, and he will able to see which from which phone or from which computer which website has been accessed. So that public Wi-Fi is connected by hundreds of employees, right? There will be hundreds of employees will come in a day or two in a coffee shop. So let's say hundreds of employees have connected the Wi-Fi, so he will able to collect the information or data of hundreds of the employees if he has taken over the Wi-Fi, and then he will able to see which basically web applications, or I would say the emails, accounts, or other things the users have accessed, and then he'll try to perform those attacks. So this is also an approach the attackers can use. So now other attacks are social engineering attacks, or principles of social engineering. So social engineering attacks, we know, right? Basically, let's say we got a call from someone, and that someone is trying to be or pretend to be something. For example, the attacker knows, okay, you buy a lotteries, for example, and recently you have purchased some sort of a lottery or something. So what he will do, he will try to do, he will try to call you and he will say, okay, hey, you have recently purchased a lottery and you have won that lottery. Now, in order to avail the offer, what you need to do, you have to transfer some amount of money to this bank account, and later once the verification will be done, okay, this bank account is perfectly okay and you are meeting the criteria, then you will send the rest of the money back to your account. So these sort of attacks are known as social engineering attacks, basically. So firstly they will try to identify or track your activities, what you daily do, and later they will try to attack in the same way. In this case, what attacker will do, attacker track your lottery activities. Like you have recently purchased a lottery, for example, that is one. In the case of internet, what attacker will try to do, attacker will try to access the data. Okay, you are searching for Netflix account, you are searching for Amazon Prime accounts or something. Okay, you are searching for this particular course or something. So in that way, what they will try to do, they'll try to gather the information, and then they will try to start sending mails or start giving you the calls. Okay, hey, I can provide you these things. What you need to do is you need to transfer some amount of me. This will be the charges for this other things. So this is how the social engineering works. So be aware of those things. Make sure when you are getting an email or when you are getting the call, it is coming from the authorized authority. Like it is not coming from the third party or something. Like then there is denial of service attacks. So denial of service we have recently seen, right, in the case of bots and botnets. So in the case of denial of service attacks, so whenever a web application is unable to provide the service, so in that case, we can say that it's a denial of service attack. So we'll take an example from a real life scenario. For example, let's say you are a person and you are capable of handling 5 requests at a time. For example, there are 5 people who can if 5 people comes to you related to their problems, so you are able to listen uh, the problems of those 5 people at a time. You are having that much capability, for example. Now, let's say what if someone sends 10 people, like what if 10 people comes at the same time? Then you won't be able to listen anything, right? Because they keeps on telling something and you will not be able to understand anything. And if you're not being able to understand anything, then you will not be able to provide any solution to any one of them. So this is known as denial of service attack. That means you are unable to provide the service which you have to do. So this is known as denial of service attack in a real life. But in the case of information security, in the case of computer networks, so we work on the web applications, right? Amazon.com is one web application. Netflix is one, Gmail is one, Google is one. So if and now these web applications are having their capabilities, right? For example, YouTube. So let's say I'm just taking basic example. Let's say YouTube is having a capability that it can only serve 1,000 requests at a time to this particular video. Like if 1,001 request will come, it will not be able to show you the video, or it will not be able to play that particular video for you. So attacker will take advantage of these kind of scenarios. What attacker will do? Attacker will create uh, bots, different bots, and those bots will send the request at the same time. Let's say attackers have created 2,000 bots, and all those 2,000 bots will create one request. So 2,000 requests will go at the same time, and the web application is only having the capability of 1,000 requests. So it will crash, and it will basically won't provide any service. So that is known as denial of service attacks, or DOS attacks, we can say that. So this is a DNS amplification flowchart, like how this can be worked basically. So here basically what um, attacker will do, like now attacker can't send 2,000 requests from a particular machine, right? He needs certain other machines in order to send that particular data onto a web application or a web server. So he will make use of 4 bots, and those 4 bots basically what they will do, he will assign 500 requests each bot. Like this computer will send 500 requests, this computer will send 500 requests, this will send 500, this will send 500. So total it will go to 2,000 requests, right? And those all will send to the particular web servers. This is the particular web server, and if that web server is not able to handle 2,000 requests, then it will crash. So we can say that it's a DOS attack. Okay then. So the next one is the man in the middle attack. So in the case of man in the middle, basically we know, right, how the data will travel. So the data will travel in such a way that from my computer it will go to the Wi-Fi access point through which Wi-Fi I have connected, and from that particular Wi-Fi it will go to the service provider which has provided me this Wi-Fi. For example, I'm using a Wi-Fi of XYZ company. So firstly, the data, the request will go to my Wi-Fi, my home Wi-Fi. Then from my home Wi-Fi, it will go to the XYZ network, to their bigger Wi-Fi, whichever setup they have set up into our cities. And then from there, it will go to the particular web application servers. And from there, in the same way, the data or the request will come back to us. So what if someone is sitting in between? Let's say firstly the data is going from your computer to your Wi-Fi. And what if your Wi-Fi is being hacked by an hacker or an attacker? He is taking advantage of it and he's able to see all the data related to this. And he's able to sniff all the data, like whatever request you are sending, he'll able to see everything. So in that is the scenario, then we can say that there is a man in the middle attack possible. So just now I showed you, right? For example, Wireshark is a tool which can be used for man in the middle attack. So here, whatever I am listening onto my Wi-Fi interface, I can click it here and I can see, right? So there are different requests are going on. So now how these requests, or how these basically protocols are going on is like, from at this point of time I'm connecting on a call, right? So my call, it is sending some data so that it gets a so that the data get delivered to you, to the receiver end. So these are the logs of those data. Basically, now these data can be encrypted, cannot be encrypted, but as we are using encrypted protocol, TLS protocol, so we can say that in this packet the data has gone, the application data has gone, but we are using transport layer security, so it is, the data will be the encrypted data. It will be go in such a way that you won't be able to read it like what exactly I have sent it. So in the same way, so here now I am able to see because I am performing, I'm using this tool on my machine. So I'm able to see because from my machine anything goes out, I'm able to see because the tool is also installed at my machine. But what if I have installed this tool on some other machine, hacker's machine, and the hacker is having control of that particular Wi-Fi, and he run this tool on the same way, just like what he did, he opened this tool and he set it, the listening port as Wi-Fi. So he will be connecting to the same Wi-Fi, and you will be also connecting to the same Wi-Fi. And he is using this tool, and he has taken control of that particular Wi-Fi, so he will be able to see your data as well because he will be able to see all the data that is going through that particular Wi-Fi. So that is one. So again, how you can prevent this attack is like never use Wi-Fi in the public places which are basically open. Open in the sense is like there are Wi-Fi access points which are not password protected. Anyone can come, anyone can use it, anyone can do anything. So those sort of Wi-Fi or those sort of things basically are more prone to the man in the middle attacks. Let's say you are using your particular Wi-Fi, home Wi-Fi, and that home Wi-Fi you have kept it as a password protected. So the chances are very less because in order to connect to that particular Wi-Fi, attacker need to break the password of that Wi-Fi. So it makes the job little bit difficult. But in the case of public Wi-Fi, he can directly connect it because there is no password protected. That is one. And after connecting it, he can do some certain modifications and he can take over all the control of that particular Wi-Fi. He can perform man in the middle attack. Then next are buffer overflows. So in the case of buffer overflow attacks, basically, so whenever a web application takes some data, so at the backend they will assign some buffers, right, into which the data will get stored. So if someone gives the data value higher than those buffer sizes, let's say buffer size is 8 bytes, for example, or 8 bits, we can take small example. So there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there will be 8 bits it can take. And let's say it is a password, for example, it is a pin. It is a pin keyword that the web application is using, that the pin keyword should be only of 8 digits. What if I send the pin of 9 digits, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? And so manually you can't send, right? Because when you try to enter 9 digits, it won't allow you to enter the 9 digit. It will only allow you to enter only 8 digits. But from the back end, as I can as I showed you in the Wireshark tool, you can see the request, right? But in the back end, you modify the request and you put it multiple digits. Like you put it from 8, you make it 20, and then you send that request to a particular website. So in that case, that website is unable to handle that request because it, at the back end, the website has created a buffer in such a way that it will only store 8 byte. It has only the capability of storing 8 byte. But as it noticed, like there are 20 bytes coming, so it won't be able to accept that request and it will crash. And it will start showing some other data or something. It will start showing some data which is not even relevant, or which is which it should not show. So in those cases, basically we can say that there is a buffer overflow attacks. Then there will be data injection attacks. So in the case of data injection attacks, basically, so there could be multiple injections, right? Cross-site scripting can be one, SQL injection can be one, LDAP injections, XML injections can be other one. So in the data injection, basically, so whenever attacker is able to inject some code, and the code in the sense is able to inject some code in order to perform some functionalities what he wants, so we can say that there is a code injection possible onto a particular web application or onto a particular system. Then another point is SQL injection. So in terms of SQL injection, now we know, right, the data is getting stored into the databases because there will be the information that is getting stored into the databases. And let's say at the back end, SQL database is getting used. So, for example, the database that is getting used as SQL, and if the attacker is able to use some malicious SQL queries and is able to perform some attacks, so we can say that there is a SQL injection possible. Now, how SQL injection attacks can be possible, for example? So, for example, this is a particular website, and this website is making a use of ID parameter, and from that ID parameter, it is taking some number, and based on that, it will start trying to show the data that is present into the database. So let's say this ID parameter, we can make it more this one. We can keep it as roll number. Okay. So the web application will ask you, tell me the roll number, and I will show you the result of that particular candidate, which is having this roll number. So here, if you enter roll number 141414, for example, so this is your roll number, and you have entered it here into the GUI page of the application. So at the backend, this request will go right, and at the backend server will take this value, roll number equal to this one, and this one it will take, and from this one it will take 14141, and it will start searching this 141414 into the database. If it matches any value for that particular roll number, it will start showing the data. But what if I give some code here, like I haven't given my roll number, I gave some malicious command, I give this question mark, then I give select start from all, something like that. I have given a database query, basically SQL query to it. So what it will do, it will try to first, what it will try to do, it will try to look for this one. So this is not any roll number, this comma is not any roll number, so it will bypass the attack, and then it will try to look for the query. It is select star from all. So it will it will select everything and from a particular database, and it will start showing it onto the web page. So in that case, if that is the case, we can say that there is a SQL injection possible onto that particular web application. Then next one is the cross-site scripting. So in the case of cross-site scripting, basically we have a website, right? In the web application there would be uh, different parameters, and onto that parameters, if someone has injected a code into a search parameter, so here I will show you Google, right? So you notice right here, this is a uh, searching tab. Here you can search anything. So if here I'm searching ABCD, so it is giving something result, right? What it is, how it works, and other things. But what if I give some code here? If I try to search some code here, so as the Google is secure, it won't run the code. But what if my application is not secure? Alert, script alert one, something like that I have given. What if my web application is not secured? Then it will not show the result. It will execute that code at the back end, and I will see some sensitive information. I will be able to see some sensitive information onto this web page. So if that is possible, then we can say that onto a particular web application, there is a cross-site scripting attack possible. So that is one. So now the cross-site scripting are of two types. One is reflected based, and one is the stored based, basically. So I can show it to you, like if I have the link of a malicious web application. Okay, so we'll perform cross-site scripting attack onto this particular website, which is known as test.php.vulnerable.web. So here we can see there is a search parameter, right? And whatever we search, it will try to identify that. Let's say I have searched ABCD. So it searched for ABCD, and it will try to identify whether there is a match for ABCD or not. But what if I gave some keyword, like I gave some malicious this one payload? So I gave one code, and this time you notice, right? It has executed that particular code, and it has start printing one, right? So in this case, I can say that this website is vulnerable to cross-site scripting. So here I just give the code as one, right? What if I give some URL here, HTTP. So here, this time what I'm seeing as HTTP google.com, right? Because I have given the command, like I have given the code with the URL, this HTTP google.com. But what attacker will try to do, attacker will try to give their code, I mean their web app link or their web server's link. And once you click on OK, it will redirect you to their websites. And once that is getting done, so you will be like your machine will start downloading a malicious file or a malware into itself. So this is how cross-site scripting can lead to downloading of a malicious file. And here I showed you, right? And this is the same way which I was explaining you about the SQL injection also. So this request generally look like this. Test equal to query. So here it is test is a parameter where it is searching for a query. So what if I gave here ABCD? Nothing, right? What if I gave here code? So here what it will try to do, it will try to look into the database for this query, as this is the XSS keyword, so it won't be get exploited. But what if I will give here the SQL command, and at the back end this website is also using the SQL, for example, this website is also using the SQL database. So this time it will start giving me some error. So here what I did just did now, this is test, right? And I am searching for one. So if there is something test value is one at the database, it will try to show the result related to it. But what if I gave this one some malicious statement? So what it showed, it gave me warning. It is showing me MySQL fetch array. So I can easily identify at the backend MySQL database is getting used because this MySQL fetch array is a function related to a MySQL database. So it is saying it is expecting the parameter one to be resource and boolean given in this one. So it is giving some sort of error. But in the second step, if I give some SQL payload here now, so it will start showing you the content, the sensitive information related to that particular database. And there you can easily identify, okay, this is a SQL injection attack. So we can perform the manual SQL injection also here by using the steps which are present into the public domain itself. So you can follow these steps and you can try at your own also in order to perform these things. So what you can do is, in order to perform a particular like SQL injection attack, there manually there should be an order. So for example, here if I am using, first I have to identify the number of vulnerable columns that can be present here. So how I can identify the number of columns that can be present here by making use of order by. I can write down the steps here. You can perform it. You can make use of the hacking articles link and you can perform on this website. So you have to make use of order by functionality in order to identify the number of vulnerable columns. So once you use the order by, it will start showing with the numbers on this particular web application. Like if it is having 10 columns, it will start showing you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. And then what you have to do, you have to identify the which is the malicious column. First step is identify number of columns. Second is like you have to identify the vulnerable column. Out of those number of columns, you have to identify the vulnerable column. Then third, you have to identify the database name by making use of that particular vulnerable column. So, firstly, you have to identify the number of columns, then the vulnerable column out of those number of columns. So, the number of columns can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. It can be anything, right? So, out of these nines, there could be only one or two columns which are vulnerable. Let's say you identify the column number 2 is vulnerable. So, the column number which is vulnerable, then you have to perform all these steps from step number 3 to the rest of the steps onto this particular column number 2 itself. So on the column number 2, you have to perform this step in order to identify the database name. So you will make use of database function in order to identify the uh, what is the database name that is getting used at the back end. Once you identify the database name, now the database is having rows and columns, right? So what you have to try to do is you have to identify the first you have to identify the table. Let's say tables present in that particular database. So let's say the database names comes out to be that XYZ. Now into that particular database, there would be multiple tables. Let's say result table is one, for example. Personal data table is second. Or I can say subject table is third. First year table is fourth. Second year result, third year result, fourth year result. Something like that will be there, right? So you have to identify the tables, like what are tables present onto that particular database. So once you identify the tables, then you have to decide of which table you want to see the content. Let's say you want to see the personal data tables content, right? So then you have to identify how many number of columns present in particular table. Okay, so for example, in our case, it is personal data table. Okay, so we have to identify how many number of columns present into that particular table, and the last step is we have to dump the content. Have to dump the contents of that table. So why we did fifth step? Because let's say there are 100 columns present. Okay, for example, but our relevant information is only into the column number 2 or column number 3. So instead of dumping hundreds of columns, what we can do, we can only dump the column number 2 and column number 3. Can only dump column 2 or 3. So these are the steps that are involved in exploiting a SQL injection attacks, basically. So with the command wise, what you can do is you can take advantage of this um, basically website. So this is the hackingarticles.in. So they have basically written, they have showed with the command itself. So here I can go through it once. So here, as we can see, so once you have opened this URL, right? For example, this one, we can also open it. So this is the same website, and this website is giving us this result. So how we can perform the SQL injection is that first we will try to create an error in order to identify whether this website is using MySQL database at the backend or not. So how to create an error? We can create an error by making use of apostrophe comma. You can see the screen, right? Or I need to make it more bigger. So okay, so here you can use this comma. So once you used it, you get this warning, right? This is MySQL something. So MySQL fetch array. So this array function, MySQL fetch array, is related to a MySQL database. So here we can easily identify, okay, at the back end, MySQL database is getting used. So now we have to perform our next step. So once we identify this one, I would say the database that is MySQL. So what we'll do, we'll make use of order by. Order by helps us in order to identify how many columns are there onto the particular web application. So what I did, I can fully copy it from our test. So I used order by one. So it is giving me the correct info, right? So that means there is one column is there. Column number one is present. Then I will change the order. I will try order by two. So if it is giving me the same web page, that means column two is also present at the backend. Okay, so this is column two. Then I will try with three, then four, then so on. So let's say I try with four in this case. So you are seeing right here the contents are like artist R4W something like that, right? So the moment I tried with four, it is giving me some error. So that means only three column are there. It the moment web application will give you error is like whenever that thing is not present at the back. So here we are checking number of columns. So I gave four. and 4 it is giving MySQL fetch error. That means 4 is not present. So we only have 3 columns, column number 1, 2 and 3. Now we have to identify which column is vulnerable one. So in order to identify which column is vulnerable one, we'll make use of union select command. So here what we'll do, I will give union select and all the columns. So out of 3, let's say here till we have, then we'll give union select and we'll give all columns, column number 1, column number 2, column number 3. So which column is vulnerable? We will try to identify in these steps. So after doing this, we'll able to see this one error pages or some sort of data or something which helps us in order to distinguish between okay which column is vulnerable or not. So the moment we tried it, it is giving us artist equal to 2 and 3. So 1 is not present if we search also now. So 1 is not present here. Okay, so this is 2019, so which is there, like it's not related to this. So we can say that column number 2 and column number 3 are vulnerable because these are getting printed by making use of union select. So now our next step is once we identify which column is vulnerable. So in this case, column number 2 and 3 is vulnerable and total columns were 1, 2, 3. So we try to identify the database name by making use of database function. So here what they'll do, they basically use this command. So here union select 1 and then on column number 2 they made database command artist equal to 1, then union select, then 1 comma 2 out of in place of 2 what we can do, we can use database command and then we can make 3. Okay, so 1 second, then what we can do is we can make use hyphen also. Okay, so you notice right, last time at the point of artist it was 2, but here it is ACUART. So that means my database name is ACUART. So I can write it here. My database name is ACUART. That is the database name. Now after finding the database name, I have to identify the tables present into that particular database. So what I can make use of it, I can put table name and then I can modify the command. Like I have to search it from that particular table, right? So in that case, I'll make use of this. And so here what I did, I in the place of second column, I gave table underscore name in order to identify the table. And from where I am able to identify from information schema, this is sort of a command. And from where I have given database name. So in place of a database functionality, I can also, I can directly give this ACUART. So that will also work because we have already identified database name is ACUART. So once we did basically, so we get the table name as artist. So our table name is artist. So the table present is artist. Okay. Then after identifying the table name, what we have to do onto that particular table, we have to identify the number of columns in the artist table. How many number of columns will be there, right? So what we can do is here we have done till now. Okay. Union select table name is done. Okay. So then what we'll do it, we'll try to identify the this one. What are how many number of columns will be there under a particular table? Or what we can do is this is one table, right? Now there could be multiple tables present onto that particular database. So we can all list it down using this group concat commands and other commands that will help us in order to identify like how many basically total number of tables present onto a particular database. That also we can identify by copying the full. For example, I'll just make copy of this, and it showed right. Artist table is one, cards is another one, categories is another one. So guest book is one, pictures are one. So out of these, we can select any one of the table of which we want to see the content. Users is one. User table will hold the contents of related to the users. So we are more interested in the users. So what we can do is we can make use of this users table and we can look for the content of the users table. So now the user table, what has it has username, it has then user password also, It has CC, it has user's address, it has user's email, name, phone number, everything it will have. So now we have to dump these contents. Like uh, in the users table, there would be a column which is uname, there would be another column which is password, there will be another column which is CC and other things. So what we can do is, let's say we want to first, for example, we want to set some CC data. We want to see what exactly they are into the CC uh, table or in the CC column. So we can make use of this one command, and how it actually works. Union select, we know that, and then there would be column number one, and then column number two, which is vulnerable column. We can use group concatenate, and we can use the column name. Like here it is CC, and then we can, from which table we want to see, from users table we want to see. So this is how it will present. Okay, CC is having this information. So similarly, in the same way, we can make use of username also. And CC, if I put uname, so it will work like username is test. If I put password PSS, I think it was there. No. Okay, so it was the exact string was for password. It was PASS. Okay, so we have to make use of PASS here because the column name is PASS. So it will show you password as well. So password is also test. Okay, then what you can see is what else information we have. We have address also, so we can see address also here. Just give address or AWS. It will show you 21st Street. In the same way, we can also see name, phone number, card as well. So this is how we can perform manual SQL injection. This all tasks can be automated also one using a SQL map tool. So there is a tool which is known as SQL map, which works on Linux machines. QL map. So basically, this tool is doing all these steps which we have performed manually in an automated way. So SQL map is a script, basically is a tool and a script where you just have to give the URL. Like you just have to give this particular URL till artist equal to, and rest of the work it will do. Like if SQL injection is possible, it will show it is possible, and it will show you the data. It will show you the dumps content as well. So any doubt in this?